The vinyl is the main thing I want to do. It's like, well, I started as a record collector. You can see all these records here.
Yep.
There is even a lot on the attic because I had to make room. So to me, it's not really released until it's on vinyl. Lately, I buy a lot more digital downloads because the vinyl has become very expensive. And also, I don't find so much time to just stand here and play records. I download and put them on my iPod. I can listen to them in the car at work.
Yep.
I can play them, and it's just a balance because I just keep stocking up on vinyl, and I think it's the quality of the tune that matters. Well, Russ, through the years, I got to know him a couple of times and always liked his music, and we sort of got in touch and started talking regularly on chat and mail, and I just got to know him better, and I just needed a sparring partner, I guess, and I learned a lot from him, and I also started helping him with getting some horns on some tracks. He would do some guitars for me. So through the years I got to know him a lot better, and it was one of my objectives to visit him one time, and finally I did. Went to London, and I planned a day to visit him in the studio. I was there after a weekend doing sessions and all that, doing record stores, so I was pretty shattered, tired, and we arrived early in the morning, and then we sat in the studio. All right, what shall we do? Shall we make a tune? Yes. So I had a bit of an idea on Fruity Loops, and I just showed it to him. So he said, let's use this, and we just started making something. So we kind of made it a bit more digital tune. We worked on that for a day, and that was the rhythm actually that came about. And then it was a high tempo stepper. It was a bit digital, so it was a bit not what he would standard make and what I would standard make, but still it's a tune we made together. It was an idea that I had, so it just sort of sat there. And then I had to do a Reggae Gale festival, and Parves was one of my guests to sing on the sound.
Yep.
And he said, I want to do something new, and I was like, I don't have that much rhythm sitting. And at that point it was still the idea that I would mix the rhythm, that Russ sent me the multi-track and you can do what you want with it. I had a couple of cuts that I already could play, so I said, you want something up-tempo? Here is an up-tempo rhythm, why not? I will mix it. I made it with Russ. So, well, Russ wanted to mix it himself, just to have a default or a bass line for his new studio, because he said, you know the sound of the rhythm and you can give me a couple of comments on it. And it just got mixed, but in that time a couple of people were reaching out to me for rhythms and doing a project, and one was Chef from Reservoir Dub. It's good to have releases on other labels because everybody has their own contacts, everybody has their own people, and it just gets you in a different field. I always find it a commitment to send the singer a rhythm, because it makes a big final. If it's like a bigger name, you send it out, they will write something and you pay for it. So it makes a bit final, and sometimes it's hard to communicate about it. But I have some people I've got good links with, like Parves, or recently Prince Levaja I've done a couple of tracks with. So yeah, I have some good links with people from longer time, like Paul Fox and Ja Melody, that I've become good friends, and that's a different thing. That you can talk and negotiate with them, and then it's more making music, which is actually more the fact. Sometimes just sending out, I don't like so much sending out a rhythm to somebody you don't know and you don't have a feel for the vibe. Then it becomes very business-like. Yeah. It's better to have a bit of a vibe.
Just for the name and
yeah. Well, yeah, everybody aims to make good music. I don't think people are deliberately lazy or want to get money and do a bad tune for you. You know, they will do their best, I think. Well, yeah, I do all the mixing myself. It's actually a process I kind of really like. I think I have a good ear for it, that I have a good sound. I try to get a warm sound. That's why I still use a mixing desk because it has kind of a vibration to it. Actually, almost all the processing is done in the computer, but I just run it through the preamps of the desk to get a bit of warmth. I like this one because it's got very good preamps, but it's very small. And then I have certain plugins that I use for certain things. I have a lot. I've invested in a lot of stuff like waves. I have universal audio. I have sound toys, and certain things work well for certain sounds. And I do have a bit of a method, but it always evolves because at a certain point I feel like doing the same thing is, you need to refresh and search. Well, the thing is, I use a pressing plant that has direct metal transfer. So some people like to make a lacquer someplace, but this pressing plant doesn't use that. But I've done both things. I've also had some tracks mastered by other people for other label, and I wasn't always happy with the result and how it came to vinyl. But I invest a lot of time in the mixing itself because people think sometimes mastering saves your track. If the mix is not right, the master you can elevate or correct a couple of things, but you need to put the work in the mix, and that's where I put a lot of my work in. So my mastering for myself is not that much of work anymore. I sometimes get asked to do mastering for people. Then I'm not an expert, but I have some tools, and it's probably just because the tools are better and that I try to have a fresh look and have a bit of experience more than others, that I do some mastering for them. I work with record industry in Holland.
Okay.
They're a very big one. I've started there. I'm happy with the results. They speak Dutch. I can communicate with them, and that's what I think is an important thing. I'm happy with it as long as it runs. To me, they work well. Also, the shipping from Holland to here for the whole package to redistribute is pretty okay. If I would have to press in Czechoslovakia or whatever, or in England, it's a lot more cost, you know. Well, yeah. It's a bit weird because so far as I can tell, I still sell the same amount, but the distribution has gone down. The only thing is, when the first release was done, my Take I Home with Ja Melody and Carlton Livingston, that's already 10 years ago. Well, we pressed 800 and that sold, but numbers went down after that, and like some distribution, I think 150 were sent to US, Ernie B back then, and it was 300 to UK to Dubwise distribution. These days the numbers are like 100, 150. Ernie B doesn't exist anymore, or not for what we do. So it's getting more difficult. Yeah. But on the other hand, that's what I mean. It's become more difficult to distribute, but at the same time, there are like 3 or 4 guys in Belgium who have like a small store online selling records. Yeah. You have in Holland, you have one, you have or two. So that didn't used to exist, so you can sell directly to them. When I played it at Fusion, it was like in a forest, but the sun was already going down a bit, so it was like a bit, I don't know how to say. Yeah, between the light and darkness, and then you had the and you had like all these Germans who were like.
Yeah, that's true.